topics we would cover as we consider what it means to dance into the rhythms of life that God has for us. One of the topics is the rhythm of expressing gratefulness, of giving thanks, either to people who show kindness to us or thanks to God. And when I thought about that, I thought the perfect person to give this message is Judy. For those of you who don't know, this is Judy Ditto, my wife. And she is much better read than I am. She's one of the most read people I know. She reads everything from military history to the writings of the mystic desert fathers. And I know that she's read a lot about the power of gratitude and how it affects our life and the outlook of our life and how we live. So I asked her if she could prepare this message, and she said, sure. And she's been working on it for the last month. It takes longer to preach a short message. It takes longer to prepare a short message, I should say. So would you have your hearts and minds, your spirits open as Judy comes and speaks to us? I've been praying that she would touch each of us with this message on the astonishing power of gratitude.
Thank you, Dennis. Morning. Most people today, when asked, what do you really want out of your life, will respond, I want to be happy. We all want to be happy. But studies now show that there's a component of happiness that has been overlooked, and that's gratitude, which enables us to want what we have. Quite remarkable. Yet one of the most tragic things about human nature is we tend to put off living, sort of dreaming of a life over the horizon. I feel like I did that for a long time, especially when I was younger, much younger. Perhaps there's something you're waiting on. Friday, for fall, for someone to fall in love with you, a new phone, for your boss to get a new personality, to lose 10 pounds, for someone to say, I'm sorry, forgive me. Then my life would be better. Then my life would start. So is it possible for people to miss their entire lives the same way one misses a plane? So how do you find joy in the midst of deadlines, stress, debt, divorce, loneliness, illness? What does a life of joy look like when your days are long and hard and maybe even dark? We're going to watch a segment from a little documentary that I found fascinating called Happy. And we're going to take a look at the life of a gentleman named Manoj Singh. So here we go.
The first question is, what do you want?
I don't know. To be happy?
To be happy.
I want the American dream. I want to be happy.
Dito ba, Chantor?
গালাগালিও করে দেয় মাঝে সাঝে। যারা ধরুন একটু ডিম টিম করে থাকে, হয়তো রিস্কায় উঠলো, তারা গালাগালিতে তাকে যে আর মারতে যাবো আমি মারি, ঝগড়া করি না। কেন আজকে ঝগড়া করবো, আবার পরের দিন আমার রিস্কায় উঠবে না বলে ঝগড়া করে ঠিক আছে দুটো গালাগালি করলো।
Would it surprise you to know that in a recent survey, this rickshaw driver, Manoj Singh, was found to be as happy as the average American?
তখন খালি পায়ে দাঁড়ায়, তখন ওই গরমকালে একটু বেশি কষ্ট হয় আমাদের, পা পড়ে প্লাস এদিকে রোদ্দুর তাপ। আর এমনি বর্ষাকাল ভালো, আমাদের কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, ভিজে গেলেও কোনো চিন্তা থাকে না, জানি আবার শুকিয়ে যায়, আর একটা প্যাসেঞ্জার উঠলে দৌড়লে শুকিয়ে যাবে। বাড়ি আমার ভালো। বাড়িতে ভালো লাগে, একদিক দিয়ে এদিকে ফাঁকা, হাওয়াও আসে। বর্ষাকালে একটু কষ্ট হয়, ঝাপটা ঝুপটি চারিদিক দিয়ে মারে, তখন অসুবিধা। নাহলে এমনি প্লাস্টিক উপরে আছে, চার সাইডে প্লাস্টিক দেওয়া, প্লাস একদিকে জানলা আছে, ওই জানলাতে হাওয়া ভালোই আসে, ভালোই থাকি, খারাপ কিছু না। এই সকালবেলা ফিরি যখন ওরা বসে থাকে ওই চার দোকান সামনেই, ওরা যখন মানে তাকায় রাস্তার দিকে যে বাবা এই আসবে, বাবা এই আসবে, তখন ওদেরও মন ভালো লাগে, প্লাস আমাকে যখন বাবা বলে ডাকে আমার মনটা আরো খুব খুশি হয় আর কি। ওই বাচ্চা কাচ্চা যখন ওই গরিব বলতে গেলে কি, বাচ্চা কাচ্চার মুখ দেখে তখন আমার বুকটা এত উঁচু হয়ে যায় যে আমার মতন কেউ বড় লোক নেই। হয়তো নুন ভাতি খাচ্ছি কিন্তু খুব আনন্দ হয় যে না কারোর সাথে ঝগড়াঝাটি নেই, কারোর সাথে এই যে মিলে রয়েছে আমাদের খুব আনন্দ হয়। আমরা সবাই বন্ধু।
I don't know. I found him just the most winsome, lovely person, someone that I would like to spend time with. What if we really figured it out, like Manoj, that this is my one precious life, right here, right now. My grandmother, Nell, lived in Oklahoma her entire life. She was one of the very first school teachers, taught in a one-room schoolhouse out on the prairie. Married my grandfather, Ira, who spent his entire life working at an oil refinery and raising hunting dogs. She had two boys, my father, Vern, Uncle Gene, and my Aunt Frances, who was the most outrageously fun aunt person you could ever know. She made a small fortune selling Avon door to door, which actually was quite astonishing because she did not shave her legs or under her arms. I was always kind of fascinated by that. Because of my father's military career, we lived in Maryland, Heidelberg, Germany, San Francisco. So when we were in the States, I got to spend several weeks with her during the summer. She had such a great love for God. I simply adored her. And love simply shone out of her. And I knew early on that she had a secret, and I wanted that secret. You know, as I began to get older, I found out what that was. She lived on such a higher, deeper realm than anyone else I knew. But how is it possible? How was it possible? Her little house on the outskirts of Enid was surrounded by arid, unforgiving prairie, with the wind blowing tumbleweeds and dust all year long. Then, of course, there were the tornadoes. It was all rather bleak. I only remember, though, feeling happy and loved. She made all of her own clothes, and I found out much later if I owned anything pretty, she is the one that made it. I never saw my grandfather hug or really hardly acknowledge her. And to this day, I believe her Bible was her dearest possession. I remember the slow dawning as I grew up of how she was revered at her church and wielded influence born of a life of prayer and gratitude and love of God. This dear, unassuming, remarkable woman. You see, there is a calmness to a life lived in gratitude. There's a quiet joy, a learned contentment. Being grateful enables us to want what we have. Paul said, I have learned to be content no matter what the circumstances were. I learned that the hard way. Following seminary, Dennis and I moved to Cincinnati. His church was a large church, and he was the associate pastor. We had 7 rich, happy years there. I loved the city, and I also loved being fairly close to Lexington, Kentucky. I was part of a second grade level team that were my dearest friends, and we set new standards for collaboration as well as innovation with a principal who gave us free rein. Every Tuesday night for probably maybe 5 years, I met with a group of senior high girls that I had the rich privilege of loving and learning the Word along with them. I loved the art museum, the symphony, Eden Park, and then one evening the phone rang. Never answer the phone. We were assigned to a church in southeastern Ohio, and to say that leaving Cincinnati was difficult is really quite an understatement. I remember the day the moving van pulled away from our 100-year-old parsonage. Dennis was down at the church. Of course, I never saw him again. I was alone with all the boxes, engulfed in silence, and I knew that my busy, fulfilling life had come to an end, that a door had closed. And I don't think there was an open window anywhere yet. I cannot do this, is how I felt. I cannot live here. I didn't quite know how to go about not being Dennis's wife. I knew I had to be Dennis's wife. I wanted to be. But I wanted to very much just extricate myself from where I was. I've given up everything, is how I felt. So do not look on blank as a stepping stone, was something I read in a devotional. In other words, don't look at where you are right now as just kind of a stepping stone to where you really want to be. This spoke to me. This is your life. Dig in, grow, and see what God has for you. I am so glad I did. I read Jamie Buckingham's book, A Way Through the Wilderness. and learned that God is sufficient. He will make a way. You see, contentment isn't something out there at some other place, at some other time, under other circumstances. Contentment is being fully present at any time, being grateful under any circumstances. So I gave up the life I wanted and thought I would always have, and embraced the life I had been given. There in the wilderness, I found there's only one being who can satisfy your last ache in your heart. There's only one, and that is God. That is Jesus. God cannot give us peace or happiness apart from himself, because there's no such thing. I'm going to say that again. God cannot give us peace and happiness apart from himself, because there is no such thing. I began to entertain the crazy idea, is joy and happiness possible right here, now? And I learned there is no joy without gratitude. Without gratitude, you will never reach joy. Gratitude is one of those sweet shortcuts to finding peace of mind and happiness. So what happens in your life when you do live a life of gratitude? Well, a lot. A growing body of research shows that gratitude is amazing in its physical and psychological benefits. One, people that are grateful have a relative absence of stress and depression. They report higher levels of determination and energy, vitality and hope. They're more likable. Don't you agree that people that are grateful and not feeling like they're entitled, they're more likable? That's who I want to be around. People that express gratitude can increase their happiness set point by 25%. And all of us have a set point. They make progress toward important personal goals. They sleep better. People that are grateful find joy in very ordinary things. This is what my family likes. Whereas being ungrateful is tied to anxiety, depression, you know, I think we compare our lives to other people, to what they have, and maybe what we don't. And we need to shift that to being grateful for what we do have. Discontent can become a habit and can only be driven out by another habit. Waking up and seeing all the gifts, then naming these gifts and telling God, thank you. This is holy work. Perhaps you're thinking, though, that gratitude is one of those unfair gifts given to those who have sunny dispositions, who don't feel anxiety or pain. Or perhaps they're just naive and have no idea what's really going on. We're not talking about some form of happyology, but rather a deep and abiding sense and recognition of beauty and good that is there even during times of despair. I am thinking if I were in a wheelchair, it would never occur to me to go to the ocean and sit. I think that's amazing. In the face of being demoralized, gratitude has the power to energize. In the face of brokenness, gratitude has the power to heal. In the face of despair, gratitude has the power to bring hope. I will practice gratitude to access joy. Elie Wiesel, the Nobel Prize winner and writer who survived a childhood in Auschwitz concentration camp, speaks about emerging from a kingdom of darkness, and that the key to escape was gratefulness, searching for and being thankful for what is good. This alone can break the grip of despair, and you can start working toward the gates leading out of that darkness. I know because I have done it. I choose to be grateful every day. I can be so sarcastic and so cynical and negative. That seems to be my default temperament. So you have to keep choosing every day. You know, God has given us the most wonderful and beautiful creation. I'm afraid we're always looking at our phones, and we might be missing it. We might be missing the people in our lives. It's just a thought. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the skies proclaim the work of his hands. People who have come to know the joy of God do not deny the darkness, but they choose not to live in it. God loves and rejoices, not because the problems of the world have been solved or all human pain and suffering have come to an end. No, but he is always inviting us into that joy. So rejecting joy and neglecting to say thank you it's a crime. I only deepen the wound of the world when I neglect to say thank you for my dog Gracie's great brown eyes, and for Tubby's personality. That's our daughter's dog. And flowers, the sky, books, music, for my two girls, my husband. Oh, I had that kind of reversed, didn't I? Okay, well, my husband, okay. Grateful, too, every step of the way, I've had inspiring people that have been wonderful examples to me. I'm sure you have them in your life as well. Write them a thank you note. But people that I have been able to be inspired by and emulate. So gratitude is not just a feeling, it is a chosen posture toward your life, this life, your real life. It is a systematic cultivation and awareness of all the good and all the beauty. Let's turn the lights down, off, and I'm going to share with you a little bit of a gratitude video.
When I watch TV, it's just some shows that are pretend. And when you explore, you get more imagination than you already had. And when you get more imagination, it makes you want to go deeper in, so you can get more and see beautiful things. Like the path. If it's a path, it could lead you to a beach or something, and it could be beautiful.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now, and the only appropriate response is gratefulness. If you do nothing else but to cultivate that response to the great gift that this unique day is, if you learn to respond as if it were the first day in your life and the very last day, then you will have spent this day very well. Begin by opening your eyes and be surprised that you have eyes you can open. That incredible array of colors that is constantly offered to us for pure enjoyment. Look at the sky. We so rarely look at the sky. We so rarely note how different it is from moment to moment with clouds coming and going. We just think of the weather, and even of the weather we don't think of all the many nuances of weather. We just think of good weather and bad weather. This day, right now, is unique weather. Maybe a kind that will never exactly in that form come again. The formation of clouds in the sky will never be the same that is right now. Open your eyes, look at that. Look at the faces of people whom you meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their face. A story that you could never fully fathom. Not only their own story, but the story of their ancestors. We all go back so far. And in this present moment, on this day, all the people you meet, all that life from generations and from so many places all over the world flows together and meets you here like a life-giving water if you only open your heart and drink. open your heart to the incredible gifts that civilization gives to us. You flip a switch and there is electric light. You turn a faucet and there is warm water and cold water and drinkable water. It's a gift that millions and millions in the world will never experience. So these are just a few of an enormous number of gifts to which we can open your heart. And so I wish you that you will open your heart to all these blessings and let them flow through you, that everyone whom you will meet on this day will be blessed by you. Just by your eyes, by your smile, by your touch, just by your presence. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing all around you. And then it will really be a good day.
Let the gratefulness overflow into blessing. And our gratitude becomes a blessing to those around us. So today, this week, every time you flip on a light switch, be thankful. Every time you turn on a faucet, express gratitude to God for his blessings to us. Would you pray with me, please? God, teach us to have the attitude of gratefulness, to be mindful of the gift of life and all the gifts of life around us, starting with the people around us. Amen.